The Crew 2 has just been announced on the website and the social media pages. Most people are thinking that this is going to be a sequel for the popular game The Crew, but I think this is going to be something else. What it is? Well, I'll tell you in a bit. So the Crew 2 has just been announced, and the information that we have right now is extremely vague. And, of course, the Crew's got many DLCs and content additions over the past 2 years now. And now they are ending support for the game entirely. Or so they want us to think. Most people think that the Crew 2 is going to be a sequel for the popular game that we know as The Crew. But I think it's going to be a DLC for the current version of the game called The Crew. So the reason why I think The Crew is going to be another DLC is because when Black Lotus and Datwat went to the early access event of Calling All Units, the developers said that they would not be doing a sequel for the game anytime soon. Now in terms of just content that the game's going to be having, well, looking at the teaser that they've given us on the website, it says, "Beyond the road, stay with us for more high-octane thrills." And from what I can tell with that is, since they said Beyond the road, I'm thinking it's going to be something related with planes or boats. Most likely boats, or some kind of aquatic vehicles, let's just say. Because partially, the cars can actually react to water very well with the current physics engine. Certain cars, that is. They have to be super light in order to react this way, but if you drive very fast over the water, they'll start skipping across the water like a skipping stone. Which is pretty interesting, and I've not seen too many games that actually have that amount of detail with the physics. To the point that they will actually react just like in real life on water. And so yeah, boats are a pretty high possibility. There's also planes as well, being able to explore the parts of the world outside of the drivable map, such as the oceans, going high up into the mountains, or very high up past the skybox, etc. And so, of course, they will most likely, if they do a DLC relating to planes and so forth, they will most likely be adding in content that all the players can enjoy, as they've teased before in the past, where they've hinted at something big coming into the Crew on December 31st. And that being a picture of the Aventador with its passenger door open, in photo mode, parked in front of a cruise ship with fireworks in the background. Which, the fireworks are most likely photoshopped in, but I'm pretty sure the open door on the Aventador was not photoshopped. That is actually a mechanic in game, and the fact that it's available in photo mode probably means that it's a dev tool, or they're actually going to be adding it in to the game. Because why would they actually show off a developer tool that nobody else could use for a reason? And of course, players have also been getting emails of the teaser for the Crew, but it's also extremely vague. All that the email has is a 2011 Mustang GT with the Crew 2 logo overlaid on top of it. There's actually nothing really too interesting about the picture that we've gotten in the email, except for the fact that on the rim for the 2011 Mustang GT there is actually no Ford logo, but in game it actually does have a Ford logo in the middle, which is rather interesting as to how that Ford logo got deleted. They probably photoshopped it out, but still, why is it not there? We may never know. But yeah, the Crew 2 is looking like a pretty promising idea. Most likely it is going to be a sequel, but somehow, someway, I just doubt that it will be a sequel, because a sequel at this point just wouldn't really make sense, since the Crew just has so many aspects that it can have added to it. Like I said, with planes, boats, maybe they could even add ATVs or whatever, or three-wheeled vehicles. Since they have two-wheeled bikes, they could add three-wheeled vehicles as well. Maybe they'll rework the game engine to have also open-top vehicles, like with ArcticGamez was saying before. And of course, ArcticGamez, I was going to do a collaboration with him on this topic, but if you're watching this video, then yeah, he couldn't make it and I made this video as kind of a backup, just in case he couldn't make it with the collaboration. But pretty much people are asking if there is going to be, the Crew 2 is going to be a sequel to the game. What kind of stuff can we see with the game? And of course I'll also say kind of new cars what kind of new cars can we see in the crew, if it's going to be a sequel and if it's not going to be a sequel. Well, first off, if the game's going to be a sequel, in both directions there's not going to be any Audis, partially because, well, Audi doesn't want anything to do with street racing, like I've said in my previous video, and yeah. But Porsche, if it's not a sequel, Porsche will not be coming in to the crew if it's just a DLC, but if it's a whole new game in the series, aka a sequel, then Porsche will actually have a high possibility of coming in. But I can't say exactly what else would happen with if Porsche came into the game, because, well, that's a secret between Ivory Tower and the people that went to the Calling All Units event, which I was told about that, by the way. But anyway, of course, Volkswagens are. There's a high possibility we're not going to be getting any Volkswagens if it's going to be a sequel of the crew. That think that what they talked about teased to us, because Volkswagen has not actually appeared in Forza Horizon 3 yet, and by the looks of it, they're probably not going to get it because of Volkswagen's emission. How to say this? Basically, their emission scandal is going to prevent them from most likely making an appearance in any more racing games from now on, because they're afraid of all the stereotypes, most likely. But I don't know that for a fact. Either way, now the rest of these are actually going to be coinciding with the current. Basically, if it's a DLC addition to this version of the game, or if it's a sequel, and that is no more police vehicles, because, well, they already said that they're not going to add any more police vehicles into this version of the game, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to expand upon that list either, if it's going to be a sequel. We're not going to be getting any more extreme spec vehicles in, basically, we're not going to get any more extreme spec vehicles because the developers themselves said we're not going to do it anymore in this version of the game, and I'm pretty sure they're going to do exactly the same thing if it's a sequel of the game. Now, addition of Bugattis is a pretty good possibility of being in the crew, but I can assure you that the Bugatti Chiron will not be in the crew, because that car is relatively very, very new and hasn't really been released yet. Now, more Subarus is a possibility, but not 100% sure. I don't know exactly how licensing works with Ivory Tower right now. Lancias being added into the game are a very high possibility if it's a expansion. And the reason why I think Lancias would come in is because they're mentioned in the end credits for the game. There's also high possibilities that manufacturers will get additional vehicles added to their current list, except for Volkswagen, because, like I said, Volkswagen's already... Volkswagen just doesn't want to do anything with racing games right now, especially with the Forza franchise. Now, this is kind of going into ArcticGamez' ideas for certain vehicles, since he couldn't make it if you're watching this video. But basically, vehicles that will most likely never make it into the crew series is Toyota cars or Toyota trucks. No more Japanese cars like the Skyline 2000 GTR, which is a pretty nice car, by the way. It would definitely be a nice addition to the game, but I'm pretty sure Japanese cars are not going to make it in. And I can assure you that the developers had a really hard time of getting the R35 GTR into the game. The Lexus LFA has a pretty high possibility of coming into the game, because, well, the LFA's startup sound is actually in the game files. The KTM Expo has a rather high possibility of being into the game, because we already have KTM in the game. And this also coincides with open-top cars as well. Open-top cars can have a high possibility, because if they make a sequel of the game, then that would mean they're going to work on a brand new game engine. And maybe the game engine will allow open-top cars to come into the game. And of course, the current version of this game could also allow open-top cars as well. But I'm pretty sure the developers... it would probably be too hard for the developers to actually implement open-top cars into this game without them causing a tremendous amount of lag. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm rather excited to see what the Crew 2 has to offer in terms of just the future of the series of the Crew. So I'll be checking back once a week to see what the Crew actually has to offer. Now, keep in mind, next week I won't be able to do any videos because, well, I have finals week next week, and yeah, I cannot basically do any kind of YouTube stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, give the video a like and stuff, and comment down below if you guys are hyped up for the Crew 2 or whatever the Crew 2 is going to offer. Thanks for watching.